Hello everyone, welcome back. Jolene here from Bookworm Adventure Girl. To those who are new, thanks for checking out my channel. I have shared my countdown of the top 20 books of 2020 list, but now I am moving along with the best books of 2020 according to genre. And I have chosen 10 categories, and today is the 5th genre or category, and it's young adult or YA. Today I'm going to share the top 5 YA books I read in 2020. Only one YA book made it into my top 20 books list. And in some ways I think this category gets a bad rap by some people. And I admit that at first I was someone who, wouldn't have picked up a YA book because my understanding was that it was written for or geared towards young people. And then about 10 or more years ago when I read the book, The Book Thief, it became one of my favorite books of all time, and when I learned that it was YA, I was surprised because I thought that it was a book that really all people should read. So I have since learned that YA usually means that the main characters and or the narrator is a young person, and it depends on how the publisher wants to market it. So for example, if you've read The Lovely Bones, it was originally going to be marketed as YA, and then the publishers changed their minds and marketed it as an adult fiction. So there seems to be some gray lines here. So moving on to the list of my top 5 young adult novels of 2020. First up is a book that I heard about the movie first, and then I found out that it was a book. And that is 5 Feet Apart by Rachael Lippincott. And I read this book last year, and I still haven't seen the movie, but I have it on my list on Prime, so I will get to it eventually. I think that this cover is gorgeous, and I didn't want to get the movie cover because I really dislike movie covers, but that's a conversation for another time. This has been compared to The Fault in Our Stars by John Green because it has some similar storylines, I guess, in that it is about 2 teenagers, Stella and Will, who are both in the hospital with a life-threatening disease. But I do think that the characters and storyline are different enough for it to stand on its own. And one thing that makes this one different, and especially interesting reading it during COVID, is that they cannot come within 6 feet of each other because it could compromise, their immune systems and potentially be life-threatening. So because they have to be apart, Stella and Will are, 2 young star-crossed lovers who find ways with a little help from their friends to spend time together. And it is endearing while also looking at heavier topics, such as young love, death, grieving, facing our own mortality, and of course friendship. The character of Poe, he just stole my heart. This was a sweet and enjoyable read. Next up is a debut novel called Tidal by Paul Gilpin, who is a Canadian writer of Cree, Métis, and Filipino ancestry. And this YA novel calls young people to unite for global change, and I loved the concept of it. So land masses around the world begin to float, and the world goes into chaos. 5 young people from Canada, Ireland, New Zealand, Brazil, and Angola are brought together on an island and are given permission to make a change and offer hope. So this novel is timely, and it's really a story for everyone. It uses dreams, Indigenous traditions, and the power of storytelling. Paul Gilpin, I think, has written a story that really empowers young people to take a lead. The next book was very close to making it into the top 20 books, so it was so hard to make the decision to leave it out because it was fantastic. The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas is a YA book inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement. 16-year-old Star is the main character, and I absolutely loved her. I thought her personality and sense of humor were spot on. Her character and all of the characters are brilliantly written. Star goes to a fancy prep school, but she lives in a poor neighborhood, and she struggles with how she has to be 2 different people in these environments. And she witnesses 2 of her friends get shot. One of them is Khalil, who gets shot when they are stopped by the cops and the police officer shoots him. Star becomes a key witness of what happened, and it puts her and her family at risk. There are so many important topics in this book. Obviously, racism, systemic racism, marriage, and identity. And the prequel, Concrete Rose, came out in January, so I'm really looking forward to reading it. The fourth book on the list is This Book Betrays My Brother by Nigerian author Kagiso Lesego Molope. And this takes place in South Africa and is a coming-of-age story of the narrator, 13-year-old Naledi. She begins by telling the reader about her brother, Bossy, who was born into a family of women, and the fact that he was a boy meant that he was celebrated by their community and really could do no wrong. Naledi adores her brother and looks up to him, and this is a family story according to Naledi. And it's not an easy one. I mean, the title gives itself away that there is a secret. There's something we are going to learn about Naledi's brother. The writing is beautiful. The characters are complex, and the story is set up to draw the reader into the family relationships and friendships, but especially the sibling relationship of Naledi and Bossy. Everything changes when Naledi witnesses her brother committing a horrifying act. The themes in the book are heavy and a trigger warning that it does deal with rape culture, blame, racism, sexism, violence, and gender roles. The story is executed incredibly well, and I think that this is a good book too as part of the Me Too movement. The last book is the book that made it onto my top 10 list, so I won't say too much more about it here. I will say that I was late to the game when it came to this one, but The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Chbosky was an endearing and nostalgic read for me. Charlie is a teenager trying to figure out where he fits in with his friends, girls, family, and himself. He is empathetic and compassionate, and the book is written in diary entries, so we know Charlie's mind and heart, and Charlie's character also felt very real to me since I work with young people. I thought the characters were all well developed and gave us insight into who Charlie is. The issues brought up in the book are drugs, sex, mental health, and I think they're all important and real topics for teenagers as well. So I thought it was a heartwarming story, and I just think, it's a good one to read if you're looking for a good YA book. Please let me know what your favorite YA books of 2020 were. Is this a genre that you read or a lot of? Have you read any of the books on this list? And if so, let me know your thoughts. I look forward to chatting with you in the comments. Thanks again for watching. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and don't forget to make every day an adventure.